Hey everybody, it's Alan Lowe and welcome to episode 5 of Be Your Best. Today we're going to have a great show, but before we get into the show, let me introduce my co-host, Antoinette. How are you doing today?
I am good. So great to be here. So I'm excited. We're talking about the fun of fasting, which is I'm sure that I think the longest recorded fast was like 300. I'm talking water fast was 300 something days. It was like some enormous guy and was medically supervised. But I actually did 41 days.
You mentioned that, yeah.
So I think I did longer than I think most people.
What was the reason that you did such a long?
So it was it was multi-purpose. So for one, I got excommunicated from the church when I was a teen. So I just kind of had my personal thing with God. And then he told me one day, he's like, go back to church, you know? He's like, his exact words were, where are you? I come to your house all the time. It's time you come to mine. So I went church shopping and I found a church I fell in love with. And I really had like a spiritual awakening. Like I bawled my eyes out the first day. So part of it was, I think the main driver was spiritual. But then I had a lot of other stuff going on that I just wanted to heal, you know? And honestly, the great benefit of fasting, a lot of people use it for weight. There are so many different ways to use fasting, but it's also a great healing mechanism for your body. And, you know, you could heal scar tissue, whether external, internal, if you have any sort of dysfunction in your immune system or even disease cells.
Yeah.
Your body, I forgot the percentage. It's something crazy like 70%. It's like, probably should have looked it up for the show, but when you eat, so much of your body's energy is spent on digestion that when you take that out of the equation, now your body can use all that extra energy towards repair, replenish, all those wonderful bodily systems,
Yeah, and when I looked some of that up as well. When I did my first fast, which is, it's been so long, it's almost like 4 weeks now. It takes a little, you have to go past the 24 hour mark when your body starts to switch over from all of the energy and stuff going towards digestion to going towards healing.
Yeah.
And so, 20-hour fasts are good, better than, but really to get into a healing state, you got to go past that. You got to go longer. So my fasting, I did the 72-hour one, which I had never done more than like 5 hours in the past. But I did the 72-hour one, and now I'm on every week used to do it on the weekends, but that wasn't working out. So now Thursday night after dinner, I start a 36-hour fast. And so I go from dinner Thursday night to breakfast Saturday morning.
Okay.
And it works out perfectly for me. So, but I like it. It is fun. You would think it wouldn't be. Like, you'd think you'd be starving all the time and crawling around on the floor with no energy, but that's not the way it is.
No.
It really is fun, and I do enjoy it. And I got another 72 coming up July 31st.
Okay.
So we'll see if we survive.
And I think one of the myths you just touched upon, I think, with fasting is people think, oh, I'm going to get so hungry. Or, first of all, people think like hunger comes in waves. So people think like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. You don't get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier until you can't take any more. You'll get hungry and then it'll go away. Mm-hmm. And then the longer you fast, you don't get hungry anymore.
Right, it goes away.
I mean, I personally found like when I do longer fasts, to me, like fasting is kind of a muscle. So the more you do, the easier they get.
Yes.
Like the first one you do, some people might not be able to last a couple hours or, a day. But, usually there's a time in that first day where you kind of start regretting, well, maybe I'll start tomorrow if I eat. You know what I mean? It's not terrible. But I find day 2 and 3 seem to be harder on like hunger signals where you actually feel... and to me, it's not like a true hunger. It's almost like I'm used to eating now. It's like a scheduled hunger.
Well, that's true. That's true. A lot of people talk about that they get personality changes, they get mean or whatever. But that's just your body your we'll call it muscle memory, but it's not really muscle. We'll call it that. Your body trying to drive you to eat
Yeah.
because it wants to keep up the glucose levels and everything that you've attained,
Yeah.
rather than going into the healing mode.
Yeah.
It's just habit.
Yeah.
It's not
But
really anything else.
I think you bring up a really good point too, because if you're burning glucose as your primary source day to day, so that means you're a sugar burner, you eat carbs, basically anything over probably 20 carbs a day, you're probably burning sugar. You're a carber. So
Carburetor.
Carburetor. But if a way to make fasting easier is if while you're eating, maybe go to a carnivore or go keto, where you bring those carbs down and then you start burning fat, so that when you go to a fast, you're already burning fat and your body's not giving those crazy hunger signals because it's running out of glucose. It's already operating on fat.
Right.
So that's definitely a hack, if you want to call it, to make it a little easier. And obviously, the more carbs you eat, like I've had so many heavy carb, like I've gone into fasts, like in the past, where I would eat two of those gallons of ice cream and all this stuff, and then be so sick of myself. I'm like, that's it, I'm fasting tomorrow. And sometimes I've had better results with that than if I, eased into it.
Right.
So it all depends on the person.
Well, my first one, my first one was cold turkey.
Yeah.
I went, I pricked my finger, saw my glucose level 404, and that was the end.
Yeah.
Instantly into that fast. So, I've had some people say to me, well, we have to mentally prepare for it. Well, yeah, maybe some people do. But if you look at it, the way I looked at it was die or get healthy.
Yeah.
It was an easy decision.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I got to work my way into it. No, they say at 600, you go in, that's coma territory.
Wow.
So I was at 404. So,
that was your motivation.
Yeah. That was my motivation. Now, not everybody has that,
but I think that's
that was
important.
me.
Like, people need to find their motivation. Is it to be around with your kids, or live to see 90, or a better quality of life? Find whatever motivates you. But I think a lot of people think, like, if they're eating a typical diet, like they're like, oh, I used to eat these things, they're not so bad. They're okay every so often, but if you've eaten the same bad foods for like 30 years or 40 years, you have so much just history of just foods that cause inflammation and are harmful for the body, that if you just went, okay, now I'm going to eat a healthy diet, it's going to be beneficial for you, but it's going to be a slower process, where fasting kind of supercharges that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it really is such an amazing tool. And I think there's so many myths out there with fasting, like, oh, I'm not going to starve. Like, starvation mode is if you don't have enough body fat on you. So if you're underweight, do not fast.
There's no point at that
There's no
stage.
point in fasting. So, but your average person, especially in today's day and age, they could probably live years off the fat of most people's body. I forgot the percentage of people that are like obese in this country is crazy. It's
all you got to do is look at a picture from the 50s of people on the beach,
and then now,
and night and day.
Oh, crazy. So the fact is that most people have more than enough fat to live off of. So, yeah. Yeah,
that's and what I found interesting too is, talking about pictures from the 50s and pictures to now, what we eat as a normal diet now. So there was a lady that was in here, Dr. Andrea Cleos, that was in here last night recording a show that's going to come out next week, and she was talking about the amount of sugar that we're now eating compared to 100, she was talking about 150 years ago. So 150 years ago versus today, the sugar that a person ate back then for a year is equal to 1 can of soda today.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so for people that are drinking a 6-pack of soda in a day, and I used to do that, 6 years worth of sugar from back then.
And not to mention all the other things. I mean, the fruits now are sweeter than they were
Oh,
100.
yes.
Even if you're eating natural foods, they've been bastardized into these like sugar
bombs.
Yeah, pretty much. And then not only that, but years ago, some of the things that spike insulin the most are like breads and flours and stuff like that, which turn into sugar. So those are sugar equivalents too, where again, those are huge. Like so many people are so carb heavy because, fat got demonized and even red meat got demonized. Like all these silly eggs got demonized. And these are studies, again, like I'm a nerd when it comes to studies and looking behind the research, and not every study is credible. I mean, sometimes, the whole study that demonized the eggs was funded by the cereal companies. So
yeah, you got to look back at where are they funded from exactly.
Yeah. And things when we were eating, all the meats and fats and stuff, there was like heart disease was non-existent. And now people think like, oh my God, it's my cholesterol.
Heart disease, cancer, all that stuff is exploding now. And they're, people are going, well, why? Well, because you're eating it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think too, let's talk a little bit about the different types of fasts.
Yeah.
So there's obviously lengths and stuff. And I don't think we're, people can do like intermittent fasting, which I think almost everybody knows what that is. You just, eat within a certain period. But I'm thinking about dry fasting is one type of fast. So that's where you abstain from all liquids and all foods. And it got to be as fast as possible. Can I? Yeah, no, there's nothing you can adjust. And there's some extremists that they don't even let water touch their body. So they don't brush their teeth. They don't take a shower. Personally, I think to go around with like a foul mouth and stinky isn't really, you're not getting that, maybe there's some, it's not, I get that you can absorb some water through your pores or something, but you don't turn into a sponge because you're fasting.
No.
So I've never noticed too big of a difference. So with dry fasting, that's one.
But now, let me ask you on the dry fasting, just, I have heard, you can go weeks without food, but only a few days without water. So
no, that's
what's
wrong.
The truth in that?
That again is wrong, because what dry fasting does, you have a lot of the same benefits as water fasting, but it's just on they say three times as much as the benefits. I don't know. I've never seen a study where they got that claim from, but it's a different process in the body. So, for example, with I've done a 5-day dry fast, no problem. But there are differences between dry fasting and water fasting that I just want to explain. So, for one thing is when you're dry fasting, your body makes your own metabolic water. So what it does is when it breaks down a fat molecule, and it mixes with air, it creates its own water molecule, and that's what you're using. So it's the most pure possible water you can have, but your body can only produce so much a day. So if you're dry fasting, you shouldn't be running a marathon.
Yeah.
You can get dehydrated. So if you're doing a dry fast, you really don't want to exert any sort of physical activity, anything like that. You do kind of want to rest more, do stuff like that. Obviously, don't do it if you're going to be out in 90-degree weather sweating. You definitely have to take a little bit more care in what you do. But the one thing that I noticed with dry fasting is your body burns hot because it's producing this, water molecule. And I find I get very warm when I'm dry fasting. And when I water fast, exact opposite. Then your body actually pulls energy from your extremities to keep your organs heated. So a lot of times your arms and legs are very cold. But with a water fast, you could really go to the gym. You could work out. You're really, can kind of do anything you would do normally for the most part.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I run about 1 degree below normal guess that means I'm abnormal.
Yeah. No, I'm the same with my body temperature. Yeah.
Below. So, but I like cold. Like, since it's only you and I in the studio right now, you like it cold as well.
Yeah.
So, this is like a refrigerator right now, but it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
At least it is for me. But I notice that I can feel like if I'm starting to get sick or something and, your temperature goes up a little, I feel it almost instantly when my temperature goes up, and the heat outside and everything, which is, I have no idea why I live in Florida. The heat, it really bothers me. It really bothers me. It didn't when I was younger, and I don't know that my temperature was off when I was younger, but it is now. And when I was doing my fasting, because all right, so I set the house at 72 degrees and put a fan on me at night, and my wife wraps up in 7 comforters and freezes. But I noticed when I was towards the end of my 72-hour fast, my temperature had re-regulated itself, and I then was setting the AC at 76, although I think my wife was bumping it up, and no fan.
Yeah.
So
that is, but I've noticed that too. That's a definite thing with the water fasting.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. I remember I was doing it in the summertime. When I did my 41 day, and I would come to work with like a heating pad and gloves.
Really?
Yeah. I got really, really cold. And I actually had, again, this is probably pure stupidity, but this was a different fast. My church did 21 days of prayer and fasting. So I was on a different fast. And one of my friends had a wedding, and we had like the snowstorm, and then my car slid and I had to get out. And of course I'm wearing the cocktail dress and little heels, and I got out and did that. And then we got to the church, and because they were setting up, they didn't close the doors after all that. So the church was very cold, and it takes a long time for this big building to heat up. So actually after that night, I didn't eat anything. I just went for the wedding and whatever. I actually got hypothermia.
Really?
No joke. And I think it's because I was fasting. Had I not been fasting, there was hundreds of people at the wedding and they were all fine, but I was the only one like fasting.
Right.
I've never had hypothermia before, where I literally, no matter what I did, I could not heat myself up. I'd have blankets and whatever. And finally I just said, I got to eat something. And I broke my fast just because I was the hypothermia. And that's exactly what I needed. Then my body started producing heat again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be about the fun of fasting.
Yeah, the fun. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, but I mean, to me, there's a faster's high. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like when you kind of get past those, like especially with an extended one, you get past where the hunger is, and then you're really not hungry anymore. I mean, I found I thought about food a lot, but I wasn't necessarily hungry. You know, it'd be like, ooh, when I break my fast, and I dream up all these concoctions I'm gonna make, but you get this high where, for me, I had this insane mental clarity.
Yes.
Where as a designer, I had my own design studio, and I mean, I felt like, I don't know, like I just was one of the design masters, and I'd have so many problems that were going on in my life, and all of a sudden the solutions were just like clear as day. The other thing is, like, I remember, because I said the long one was very spiritual, and it was literally the most intuitive conversation I had with God in my life. It was just like back and forth, like I'm talking with you. It was just crazy good. So there are so many benefits, I think, to that.
One of the ones I noticed, and again, I've only been doing this, really, we're in my 5th week now of since the 72-hour fast. And then every weekend I do a 36, almost every end of week I do a 36-hour fast. But during the 72-hour one, I was driving along. So I started it on a Thursday, and I don't know. I was driving along. I think it was the 3rd day. And I'm looking around driving, and all of a sudden I noticed the leaves on the trees were crystal clear.
Yeah, like your vision improves.
My vision was like, wow.
There's actually been cases where people fasted and they needed glasses and didn't need them. during the fast.
During the
I'm
fast.
not even kidding, because it heals. So it heals all these things in your body.
Yes, it was crazy. I started looking around. I was seeing like, wow, I can read that mosquito's serial number. it was great.
Yeah.
I've kind of gone back to normal now, but on July 31st, I will be doing another 72-hour fast. So I want to see if it boosts it back up again,
Yeah.
because it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
I would say one of the negative side effects of both the dry and wet, just to prepare people, because I remember when I was going into it, I assumed like hunger would be the biggest obstacle, and it actually was non-existent. Like, that was so not an obstacle.
Right.
The things that I found, and you could tell me about your experiences, but I found I got stinky. You know what I mean? Because your body's breaking down fat tissue, and that's where a lot of toxins are stored. So I found, like, after I brushed my teeth, I felt like it didn't take. Like, I constantly had to brush my teeth and brush my tongue, and you just felt like, I don't know. And then even I felt like myself, like, I use deodorant and whatever, but I just felt like stinky or dirty. And I just thought that was weird. I was almost embarrassed,
Well, I'm lucky-ish.
Oh, because you don't have a sense of smell. Yeah.
When I had COVID back when
should ask your
COVID first
wife.
came out. Yeah. Well, let's not do that. When I had COVID, when it first came out, I lost taste and smell, and I probably have maybe 10% of it back now. And nothing smells like it was supposed to smell, and nothing tastes like it's supposed to taste, at least the way I remember it. So I don't know if that happened to me or not. But imagine.
The other thing that I would find is, like, I'd have good energy, but there came a point in the day where when you're tapped, you're tapped. Like, when you're eating normal, you could always, like, oh, I'm tired, but push yourself. But kind of when you're fasting, when you're done, you're just, like, uselessly done. And I found I slept like really, really deep sleep, but much less hours. So sometimes it was hard to stay asleep for any extended time, because your body, again, you're not digesting, so your body may not need as much sleep.
You're in the rest mode to start with.
Yeah. So have you found that?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't sleep much anyway. Normally I go to bed somewhere around 11:30 at night, and I'm awake. I don't get out of bed because I don't want to disturb anybody else, but I'm awake, lying there somewhere between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. So I average maybe 6 hours.
Okay.
But I don't feel tired from it.
That's just what you need.
That's just what it is. But I noticed when I was fasting, I would still go to bed about the same time. But I would wake up maybe 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I could not get back to sleep again.
Yeah, the same. The other thing I want to, because I think when you say water fasting, a lot of people ask, oh, can I have this? Does that mean can I have coffee? Can I have this? Can I have that? The best benefit you're going to have is just drinking water and add electrolytes to it. That's actually another hack. Some people struggle with, they get that keto flu, or they call it, where you might get headaches or you feel groggy. A lot of times that's just electrolytes. So I highly recommend getting, you can make your own, or buy electrolytes, but I recommend the non-flavored. I think a lot of people, to get themselves through fasting, because they're like, oh, water gets really boring or whatever. So they get these things that are like, add a little flavor and sweetness, even though it's 0 calories. And it might be stevia, it might be a healthy sugar, but I'm going to tell you that spikes your hunger signals. Mm-hmm. And it actually makes it harder if you start having like a 0 calorie strawberry flavored electrolyte mix.
Well, I noticed, for me, I had water and I was adding a little bit of salt to it.
Yeah.
But I think it's called, it's a cephalic response.
Okay.
So, and I looked it up, it was real. So I had stevia. Uh-huh. And so I was drinking my homemade brew of guava leaves, not during the fast though. I was drinking guava leaves, cinnamon, and turmeric, all mixed together in a tea. And it's a little bit bitter. So I added a couple drops of stevia to it. And my glucose level shot up. Not because I was adding any sugar. It was my brain said, oh, this is sweetness. We have to pump out extra glucose.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't required. But
that happens more often than people think.
Yeah. So a flavored electrolyte during a fast would trigger that in me.
Yeah. So, and it triggers in, I think, a lot of people. Not only do you get where your body creates the insulin response, but it's making your fast harder in the long run. And the more you go, let me have a flavor this, maybe have a flavor that. Again, if you kind of just stick to water with a little salt or the non-flavored electrolytes, you'll get used to it,
And it might be boring, but you're not doing it forever.
No,
this is just a short fast time.
I find too that when you're doing it and you kind of restrict yourself, it's harder in the beginning and then it just becomes the norm. The whole point is your norm is these sugary things.
Right.
So create a new norm and then you're not gonna. And I find that if you do stuff like that, like I'm not, if you could deal with black coffee, and I mean, in addition to water, it's not ideal. For some people, they're going to have a response to that as well, even though there's no calories.
Right.
But a lot of people, when it comes to black coffee, let me add this and I need this. And at the end, you're not doing your fast. Anything like calorically that you're putting in your body or with flavors, you're almost sabotaging yourself. And I found that out. I found that out myself because I'll be like, I'm just so sick of water. I'm gonna add a little this, and then I'll add it, and I'm like, oh, that's fine. And 2 hours later, I'm like dying to break the fast. Where before I was just a little sick of water, and now I'm already negotiating in my mind of I'll do it today and then I'll work one in next. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that people really got to just come to terms with.
One of the things that you taught me, and it doesn't break a fast, is that if you really do start to get hungry, which I did on the 72-hour, right around the 12 to 15 hour mark, a little bit of butter.
Yeah.
A tablespoon of butter, not sweetened butter or anything like that, just regular pure butter, because the fats in it are what satiate you. Mm-hmm. So you take a tablespoon of butter and within 20 minutes, hunger's gone.
Yeah.
And I think that brings up another interesting point that the fasting helps us attain, is because of our diets now being heavy and everything's sugarized.
Yeah.
Our body, which was originally designed to work off fats, switches. It doesn't have to work because we're feeding it the glucose that your liver would normally produce. So the fats get stored.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the starvation mode, like you said, obesity and everything, which is prevalent now, is fat storage.
Yeah.
And you don't have to use the fat if it's using the glucose, because it's easier for the body to just take the glucose you're eating and turn around and push it out. But when you cut the glucose off and your body then is forced to go back to using the fats, that's when things become easier satiated. Yeah. You don't have to stuff your face with 10 tons of food, as long as you have food that has a higher fat content to it, like bacon.
Yeah. Which is, twist my arm, let me have bacon, right?
Yeah.
But I think too, what people, just the science behind it too. So when you ingest carbs, your glucose spikes and then it goes and then, it does all this stuff. So as opposed to when you eat fat, you don't get that spike in glucose.
Right.
So your body's still able, because if insulin is in your system, it's the fat storage hormone. It's not the fat utilizing hormone.
Right.
So it'll basically take the fat that's in your system and store it. So as long as there's insulin there, you're not tapping into your fat stores.
Right.
So, and the other thing with insulin and fasting is, so if you're fasting, and then you eat something with carbs, your insulin's going to, have this huge spike. If you eat something that's just straight protein, it might be about half of that, you know.
And come down faster.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you have just straight fat, it might spike slightly, but it's so minuscule that it really does. That's why it doesn't necessarily break the whole fasting thing, because
Right.
it's not switching you to burning carbs now. You're still burning your own body fat. And then the other thing is, what was I going to say? One of the things that happens during fasting is autophagy, which, are you familiar with that?
No.
So what that means, it's actually translates to self-eating. So it's like the body eating itself, which sounds atrocious, but that's basically the process of the body goes in and cleans up like old damaged cells or scar tissue and stuff like that. So there's certain things that spike up autophagy, and fasting is one of them. So if you eat protein or carbs, that's really going to shut down that cycle. So if your whole thing is to heal yourself from something, you're cutting down that healing mechanism, if you're eating the carbs or protein.
Right.
I mean, and actually protein in this case actually suppresses autophagy even more than carbs. So, which is interesting.
Well, that's the whole point behind fasting, is to reach a healthy state.
Yeah.
Because our diet and our lifestyles is like the most incredibly unhealthy that there is. And all you have to do is look around, like I said, at a picture of people at the beach versus a picture of people at the beach,
Yeah.
From 1950. And it's just day and night.
Yeah.
We have sabotaged ourselves. And the doctors, like you said before, they go to a couple hours of a nutrition seminar during their medical school, and they don't keep up with the nutrition end. They're not nutritionists.
Well, they're to their defense, they're bombarded by the drug companies, push this drug, push that drug, and all day long. If you're ever in a doctor's office, I'm hard pressed to not see one or two salespeople in there trying to get in time to push their drug. They're never trying to push nutrition training.
And the ads all over the walls and stuff for different drugs. Yeah, they're not pushing nutrition. And when my glucose level was at 404, there was no doctor saying, "Hey, just change your lifestyle and go on a diet."
No, it's like, take this pill.
Take this pill.
There's a pill for that.
Right. And that's hiding the symptoms, masking everything, but not fixing anything.
Yeah. And then I also want to talk a little bit about fat fasting. So that's something that technically it's not fasting because you're eating fat, but it has a lot of fasting mimicking properties to that. So I actually started one of these on Thursday. So that day I ate maybe 2 sticks of butter, maybe a stick and a half, something like that. And it's, you're hungry, you eat, sometimes I might eat half a stick in one setting. And then, it's a good way also to get your body to now all of a sudden going from, glucose to fat, because it's now has to digest the fat.
Right.
It's already getting itself used to doing that. So I did that for like 2 days. And then I decided to go into a BBBE, which is beef, butter, bacon, eggs. So again, I'm trying to keep it very high fat, but I'm also just keeping it strict protein. I'm making sure everything I get is 0 carbs. So the bacon, no sugar added,
Right.
Just straight meat, and obviously eggs has no sugar. So I've been doing that since Thursday, and I've consistently lost 1 pound a day up until 5 days, 5 pounds.
Wow.
And this is eating. This isn't even torturing myself.
No, that'll fill you up what you're eating. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, like, obviously, there's ways to do stuff that's maybe good, better, best, or faster or whatever. But the key is something that you could actually do and stick with. And maybe you'll start at something that's a little easier for you. And then you could step it up, like, oh, let me switch to, even like I was saying, to start a water fast. If you're eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, you're already a fat burner. You're not going to go through that thing where you're waiting for your glucose to get depleted.
Right.
So that makes it all the much easier. But that's definitely something. And I think even with, sorry about that, but even with, the fat fasting, there's benefits to it. And, for me, it's really easy to stick to. Like, I wake up, I literally probably use a half a stick of butter and 4 eggs. Like yesterday, even though I lost a pound, I ate probably 9 eggs. I had a stick of butter. I had about 3/4 of a pound of beef and maybe a 1/4 pound of bacon.
And still lost
And
weight.
I still lost. And this is when people go, oh, calories matter. Calories matter. Like
calories.
they matter to a certain extent. But if you look at what a calorie is, it's this scientific thing of how much energy is used to raise something 1 degree in a closed, scientific experiment. Well, first of all, we're not these closed scientific experiments. We're people. There's hormones. There's all this different stuff. And just to prove my point of the thing with insulin, like if you take a diabetic and you shoot them with insulin, they're going to gain weight, whether they eat or not. They're going to gain weight. And even if you know these like type 1 diabetics, which they don't produce their own insulin, so they need insulin to survive. Otherwise, they literally will waste away to nothing because nothing is storing anything. But if one of these type 1 diabetics, if they always, let's say, shoot the insulin in their thigh, they'll start developing these like round pockets on their thighs of where the injection site is of just fat. I mean, look that up on Google. I mean, then this is just insulin. This isn't calories in, calories out. So part of the reason I wanted to do that is just to explain, it really doesn't, calories. And then the other thing is with calories, like the restricted eating model, 1 pound is 3,500 calories. So with me going to this, I actually increased the amount of calories I was eating in a day, and yet I was able to lose a pound.
Sure.
So I don't eat 3,500 calories a day normally. So how am I able to lose a pound?
Yeah, exactly.
While you know what I mean? So it isn't really a calories out, calories in model at all.
And I've paid, in this journey to reverse, for me, my insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, which I'm now at, according to numbers, I've gone from type 2, full-blown type 2 diabetes to pre-diabetes. So I'm on my way to no diabetes.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting with it, in the whole process, calories haven't been a concern.
Yeah.
I've never even looked at the numbers. And I'm eating the bacon, the eggs, the steak, and I'm loving it, by the way. I don't think I could do it if I couldn't eat bacon. But it's working out really, really well. And being able to plan a fast. Now, I know that you just sort of jump into them when you do. I plan my weekly fast because I'm doing, at least at this stage, I'm doing weekly fasting of 36 hours, and then every couple of months the 72-hour. But in doing that, in between fasts, I still don't get hungry, and I have to force myself to eat because I don't think about eating anymore. It's almost like a hassle, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I have to plan the eating.
Well, I think that's the biggest problem too with people's diets is they don't even know hunger cues. So a lot of times people eat all day long, and it's not so much because they're hungry. It's like, oh, it's 5 o'clock, or oh, it's TV time, and that means I get my bag of chips, or oh, I'm here and therefore, or I'm bored. A lot of people emotionally eat, or
stop into the gas station and go get their big gulp and a donut.
Yeah, or like I know for me, if I'm stressed out, I get hungrier. Or if I don't sleep well the night before, I find that I'm just hungrier, and I guess to give me energy and stuff. But when you actually start fasting, you start really understanding what true hunger is. So when I was on the 41-day fast, I actually could have kept going. I wasn't, really, really hungry. I just had like a holiday. It was like Easter holiday. I was coming to visit my parents, and I didn't want to be like that girl, But I've had other fasts that maybe it was shorter. Maybe it was 5 days, but then I got true hunger. Like, yeah, you need something. So sometimes it just might be that you need, but it is the more in tune with your body, because some people just like chug down water and chug down food just because that's what the doctors tell them, like eat 5 times a day.
Oh, that whole multiple meals every day. Yeah.
And that's such a fallacy because it's just keeping your insulin level high even more.
All through the day.
Yeah. The less meals you eat in a day, the better. you know.
As long as when you do eat, you eat healthy.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Oh, it's that time.
yeah, we're running out of time. And before this show, we discussed what's our next episode going to be, and I don't think we came up with an answer.
Oh, so it'll be a surprise episode.
It's going to be a surprise episode.
Yeah, we'll have to chat and come up with something. If you have any suggestions, put it in.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we'll
please
decide
put your
on our
questions
own.
in the comments.
Yeah, and by all means, we always love any feedback from people. The whole point of this is to get everyone healthier. We're not trying to promote anything other than health.
No, we have no products.
We have no products, no agenda. Basically,
eat and healthy.
Yeah, and just trying to dispel some of the myths that are around because they're huge. I mean, and you'll hear myths from doctors, you'll hear myths from health professionals, and unfortunately, they're just spewing out something they probably read in a magazine that has since been, refuted with a real scientific study, and
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
Sadly.
But definitely come join us next week.
Yeah. Well, we still have to come up with a parting quote, but until next week, eat healthy and be
your best.
Your best. It was 41 minutes.
Wow. That went quick.